Well, well, well. If it isn't my old friend Danny Worsnop from Asking Alexandria. How the hell are you today, brother?
I am good. It has been far too long.
Man, it really has. I was thinking about it before you were coming on the show, and I was like, when is the last time I saw Danny? And for the life of me, I don't have like a one instance, but I know it was like, it's got to be close to 10 years ago now since we last did like a Mayhem festival or something like that together, right?
Yeah, we saw each other very briefly, like 5 years ago at like some Europe festival.
Oh, that's right. That was at the very end of it was like the end of our cycle for the stage,
Yeah.
and were you guys just starting out on that album at that time?
Yeah, I think that was just starting.
Yeah.
So I saw you guys super briefly then, but you guys literally flew in, flew out, and we did the exact same.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's like the nature of those festivals. Like they're all so spread up, and like in Europe, you have to do them, especially in our genre. It's like the biggest opportunity to get in front of the biggest fan base in Europe, but they're all kind of like spread out, and half the time you got to fly. Other times, if you have to bus it, you're really bummed. Like it's a tough racket, but it's worth it those summers, right?
Yeah, the grind isn't fun, but yeah.
But it's necessary, Danny. It's necessary.
This is the dream. This is the dream we were promised.
Absolutely. It is a dream having you on the show here today. Cheers to you, man. I have a plethora of drinks like sprawled out, knowing you and our relationship over the years. Just in case. I wasn't sure where you were going to go today, though, Danny. So what are you starting out with?
I'm starting out with tequila. I'm going to finish on tequila too. I actually haven't had a drink in a minute. So
What's a minute? Like an actual minute or like?
No. I'm gonna show my true because in my head I was like, I haven't had a drink in a while, and I was like, oh, it's been about 2 weeks.
Hey, that's longer than me. It's been I'm trying my best these days, and I'm sure we're gonna get into a little bit of this, Danny, but maybe it'll go right into it. But I know for me, I enjoy the drink. I enjoy everything about it. To the point where I realize as I get older, I'm enjoying it a little bit too much sometimes. You know, I got a 6-year-old kid at home and stuff. I'm like, I gotta learn to take some time off. So, in the interest of you taking 2 weeks off, I congratulate you. I've taken 2 days off, which is good this week. I try to get a few days a week in. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's especially I imagine with children, it's good because they get to report back to school and it's like, what do your parents do? And he's like,
he better not be snitching on me. He better not be snitching on me at school.
The dad drinks his silly water and then he starts falling up the stairs. It's so funny.
Well, I am drinking a silly water right now. I don't know if you guys have these. You're out in Florida, right?
Yeah, I'm in Florida right now. Well, I'm actually in Florida for the next, what is it? Thursday. I'm in Florida for another 2 days. And then I am selling this house. I'm moving back over to Tennessee.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Congratulations. Yeah. So, and I don't think they have these in Tennessee. I don't think Tennessee is Tennessee legal for marijuana.
I don't think so.
That's not the first thing you asked when you were going to move back to Tennessee.
Well, I know all of my friends there smoke, but I don't know if it's legal.
Well, I mean that's all of America, right?
Yeah.
Well, they have these drinks. I don't know if you turned yourself on to them, but like. They're awesome to take breaks from booze for guys like you and me because it's still like I'm drinking, I'm getting messed up, but it's got 0 calories and it's just THC in it.
That's good.
It's pretty nice. It's pretty nice.
I have such a horrible weed's the one thing I don't have a tolerance for.
Oh, dude, I know. I
wish back in the day that applied to other drugs because I'd have more money now. If you described that drink to me, I'd get high.
Well, let me see if I can describe it close enough over Zoom for you. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
No, for me, it was just for a long time. I had the same thing. It wasn't agreeing with me. I've said this on the show many times, and I was so happy over the last like 6 years or so. It just magically started working for me again, and it was such a good like breather from alcohol. I know that sounds terrible for like anyone at home who's like struggling with addiction and stuff. They're like, oh, you're just taking breaks from booze for weed. I'm like, yeah, I am, but it's working for me so far, so I'm going to keep going with it.
The easiest way to get rid of a problem is to replace it, is what I've always said.
As funny as that sounds, I know that's very contradicting to a lot of beliefs in addiction and stuff. I actually agree with that. And as fucked up as that sounds, because here's the thing, even if I was to stop drinking, what, like not all, I won't make that much of a blanket on it, but most of the people that I've seen recover completely from booze and go the celibate, the route, they replace it with either nicotine or caffeine or both to a very big extreme.
Yep.
And I'm like, well, that's not healthy for you either. Like, yeah, you're not falling over and it's not technically illegal, but that's not healthy for you either.
Arguably just as damaging. Yeah, I went sober for a while. I did like 18 months, and my caffeine consumption went through the roof. I was like, I was less weird when I was a cokehead than when I was just drinking coffee all day.
Well, there's a lesson to you kids. Don't mess with the shit that has fentanyl in it now. Just drink a shit ton of caffeine.
I'm a firm believer that it's my fault that there's fentanyl in it now because there isn't any cocaine left.
You took down that much, huh, Danny?
I took it all.
I will say we've had a few nights together in the back of buses.
Yeah.
Back in the day. And have you? You said you got sober for 18 months. Did that have anything? I mean, was that just from booze? Was that from everything?
That was. I haven't touched anything besides booze in a very long time. And it wasn't even it wasn't a I have a problem, I need to slow down thing. It was I just got off my solo tour, which are notoriously start to finish just one big party. I do no days off, and just every single day, the second you get to the venue, we start drinking. We drink with the crowd, get off stage, jump into the crowd, and just drink all for the rest of the night. It's like if Bert Kreischer was in a rock band.
That sounds fucking amazing, by the way.
It's so much fun. But I got off tour and I was like, I feel really bloated. Like, I think I'm allergic to something we were eating. I feel really bloated. And it was like,
you're blaming it on food. It's perfect. I know your pain. Blame it on everything else.
It has to be an allergy. Like, you've been drinking 2 bottles of tequila a day for a month straight. I don't think you're bloated.
Well, you're bloated, but for a different reason.
Yeah, I had like 5 or 6 weeks off before the Asking tour started, and I was like, cool, I'm just not going to drink until I go on tour again. And then everyone started coughing, and all that weird stuff happened.
Oh, yeah.
But the weird part of my brain that was like, well, you said you weren't drinking until you go on tour again. I just kept not drinking.
You stuck to it. Yeah. Good for you, man.
Yeah,
that's an interesting way to stick to it, too. I will say, like, in all seriousness, to like, stick to a guns when it's very easy. I mean, there was something that changed everybody during a period of time. And for you to take that route, I'm being very genuine here. I know I come off as sarcastic a lot, but like that's really something, man, to stick to your guns, even with something so changing, you know?
It was the worst time to do it.
Yeah.
Stuck in my house for 18 months.
I would say though, if you could pull that off though, like, doesn't that kind of give you like the reassurance that like, even when you have problems, at least you could take time off. You know what I mean?
I always have been able to. I mean, even when I was real bad with narcotics, like as soon as I was like, yeah, I'm done. I completely stopped. I smoked back in the day, and that was one day I was just like, I'm not smoking cigarettes anymore. I just threw the pack away, never touched them again. It was the same with Kanye, and it was with everything. I'm really good at just cutting it off. I think it's because, for better or worse, I'm just very stubborn.
You're all in or all out.
Yeah, I'm a light switch. I don't have a dimmer. It's on or off. Like, which is also why I do take extended periods now of not drinking, because me having a couple drinks with you tonight means I will black out tonight. Because I can't
for real, like no matter what.
We'll have a couple here, but then I can't stop because I've already started now and I have to see it through.
You know, I do think we do. I have a bit of that as well, and that's something I've had to work on, honestly. And now I don't quite go that extreme, but like, no, I mean, for years that was it. You know, then through therapy and taking time off and everything like that, my prescription for myself has been more working with a therapist on it, trying to find the root of why I'm that way, trying to fix it, trying to just be better about it every day. Look, I'm still going to fuck up, and I love it so much. I'm not ready yet to just say I'm done with it. I'd rather say I'm done with it for 6 months and then or put it away for 2 weeks, 3 days, whatever it is, knowing it's still going to be there if I decide to drink it again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like it's going anywhere.
Yeah, it's at the end of the day, as much as people don't want to admit it because they think, I don't know, maybe it sounds like they have a problem. Getting drunk's fun. Being
Fuck.
drunk is fun. It's so much fun, and I like doing it. So it's like for me, just having like one or two drinks is like getting just a little bit of over the pant hand job going on,
Right,
and then
right,
just be
right.
like, all right, bye.
You're like, wait a minute. Like, well, this usually goes somewhere else.
Yeah. It's like I don't get the same enjoyment out of just like having a couple drinks because I'm like, well, now I know the fun bit's right there. The fun bit is just a couple more away. So I just want to
And
go.
then the more fun bit is just a couple more away from there. And then the more fun bit's a couple more away from there.
And then the really, really sucky tomorrow morning is about one ago.
Oh, that is 100% the truth, man. I mean, we could talk all day about drug and alcohol use, I'm sure. And we'll come back to it, actually, because there is something that I had our boy James on the show a couple years ago now. During that time, everyone was coughing, actually.
Yeah.
And I made him a drink and virtually, and we shared the last word. It was a great chat, great time. But there was something that I didn't get a chance to talk to him about, and I'm going to save it for a little bit. Everyone listening right now, you're going to want to stick around for this. I'm not giving you an over the pants handy like Danny just described, but I will say like you're going to want to stick around for that part of the conversation. But before we get into there, you're pouring yourself your tequila.
This is Assassinato.
Assassinato is how you pronounce it. And you make it where now?
It's in Tequila, Mexico.
It is. Okay.
Yeah, we have the #1 distillery out there, which no one can understand how we got in with. But my business partner is the squeakiest wheel you've ever met in your life, with no shame at all. And he literally just calls people again and again and again and again until they just agreed to meet with him just to make him stop. And then we just bombard him in and do all the flirt and make it happen. But yeah, we have an amazing distillery and we spent a long time on it, and it's finally coming. It's coming over now. We have that. We also have, speaking of seltzers, ours doesn't have any weed in it, but we have a seltzer coming too.
Is it going to be a tequila seltzer?
It's an agave seltzer.
Agave seltzer, yeah.
We do not make it in Mexico, so it is an agave seltzer.
Where do you make that at, though? Where do you make that at?
It's out of Pensacola.
Okay. So you have a different distillery for that, or
you can't call
it brewery?
anything, you can't call anything tequila unless it is bottled in Mexico.
Right. Okay. So it's the same thing, but my question is, that's not the same company or the same distillery. Obviously, it's in Florida. So who are you doing that with? So that's two different companies, right?
It is. That's called Nectar, NCTR.
Oh, cool. I think I've seen some of that stuff.
Yeah,
I was thinking I've seen their name on some cans and stuff. That's very cool. I got a seltzer, but it's alcohol. It's I don't even know. It's like one of the White Claw ones. It's made with malt liquor.
Okay,
like,
cool.
Like one of those that we just released. We're gonna have to. I'm gonna send you some stuff. You're gonna have to send me some stuff because we tried to get it for everyone listening at home. We were trying to get some of that tequila out to me before.
No.
Ran into customs, getting it from Mexico and stuff. So I have to wait. We're gonna have you back on like when we're either crossing paths or you're gonna be in Tennessee next month by then, right? If you're leaving in a couple days.
I'm gonna be in Tennessee on Sunday and Monday. You're also in Tennessee?
I'm gonna be in Tennessee like what is it, like the 21st or 22nd, something like that?
We'll be on tour by then.
Shit. Well, that's a good segue right there. Let's talk about your tour then. No one wants to know about when we're going to have you back on the show. They'll find out when they start following us and subscribing and all that fun stuff. They'll see when we actually going to get Blackout together and film it. But on your guys' tour, you're touring for Where Do We Go From Here now, which is I added the now. Where do we go from here? The you guys' new record coming out. You got a couple singles out already. I have only lived with this for the last like 24 hours, so I have a few standout songs on it that we could get into. But overall, you guys put out this record, and I guess it's from your photos. that we'll get into, and your book. It sounds like it was the first time you guys all got together to make a record was on this one, right? Or was that on the record
That was
before?
the last record.
That was
This
the
one was
last record.
done, yeah, this one was done pretty much all remotely.
Mm.
Which is how we usually work. That's why the last one was kind of so special and why I wanted to look for it. This one was, yeah, fully remote, very I feel like I might be completely wrong with how people hear it, but in my head I worry that people hear it in like a negative way or like it doesn't or it matters less way. But it was like so mechanical where it was like, this is the job, go in, do it, done, which isn't necessarily a negative thing. There's just very different processes to the way you can approach it.
Right.
And this one was very like, cool, we have a playbook of what this album needs to be, check those boxes, get it done, and then it was finished. It was so easy that way. Whereas the last one was very like, lock ourselves in a studio with a blank canvas and just see what we come up with over time and be artists. And
now looking back though, and having done both ways recently, I consider the last record before this one recently enough too. What's your preference, and if you have a preference? I understand that like as a writer, sometimes you don't have a fucking a preference on it. It's just, there's different aspects about it that you like. What were some of the differences and some of the aspects you liked and disliked about the two different ways?
I'm a gear nerd, so getting into a big studio and doing all that stuff and getting to play with dials and try out a million different things always is just fun for me. And having just that blank slate to just create and be a pretentious artist is a blast. But from a business standpoint, and time will tell, but I'm suspecting from a fan standpoint, the way we've done this one is probably a better use of time. Because
it's more efficient that way or something.
Yeah, because we know what we're going in there to do. We're going in with like, what do the fans want to hear? Let's create that instead of let's see where this goes. So it's like how in Hollywood there's a very kind of one for you, one for them mentality. It's kind of what this is. It's like the last album was very for us. So with this one, we did like, this is very much for them. We're going in, it was like, I'm not writing any songs for me, which I then fucked up by writing one for me. But the rest of them.
I don't think that's a fuck up. I mean, I think that's just like a difference of the writing process, right? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong there. Everyone has a different one, so you can only speak to your own, right?
Yeah. So it was going into it with that mindset made it really easy.
That's so interesting though too, because like it's so fun for me to talk to you and different artists about their process and even as a band in the same genre, and that difference of process is like with us, it's always been we're selfish. We do everything for ourselves and then hope that the fan base enjoys it as well and hope they come along with us. We've never done that other approach. I'm not saying we maybe we should have along the way a couple of times. I don't know, but like that's so interesting to recognize that two different processes and the outcome is for you or for them in a lot of respects. It's a very interesting take to me.
Yeah, it wasn't anything we've ever done before. But I don't know, there's something about the conversations we were having going into the album and the kind of first ideas we were coming up with, it felt appropriate and it felt right. And in my head, I was like, if we're ever going to do it, it should be now.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of changes going on. This is the last record on our deal. So for all we know, we're going to be completely independent in 12 months.
Mm-hmm.
And like that could drastically change the way we look at releasing, look at creating. So if this could potentially be the last album, it's not gonna be the last release, but if this is gonna be the last album, let's make it that and like make it be a reflective thing of let's look back at the last 15 years and try and sum that up in one place so that all of our different groups of fans have one thing where they're all together before we go and do whatever the hell we want to do next.
Well, isn't that the cool part though? Like we're kind of in the same boat here. We've delivered our last record and we have that time frame, and then as you know how those contracts work out, we're coming up on the end of that too, and we haven't. We're still undecided on what we're gonna do, but it's like it's definitely like the change of the scenery in our industry is so it happens so fast, and it's still changing all the time. It's kind of like the Wild West of how you get to release stuff. You know what I mean? It's like. Yeah. Kind of get to do whatever the fuck I want and release it however the hell I want. And it's not going to matter as much as it did, say 10 years ago, 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah. And the process of even the marketing and putting it in front of people is such a different game. Mm-hmm. I mean, thank God we're enough into our career and have made enough of a dent to where we don't have to hang out making TikTok dances all day. But
it's working for the new artists, though, man. I gotta say, it's working for them. I don't get it. I'm a little too old school, but more power to them, man. They're finding out what's working these days.
Yeah, I see it, and I watch my friends and just new artists that I find and follow for a while. I watch them blow up. I watch Teddy Swims come from like when he was doing like a few thousand numbers to obviously he's just turned into a superstar now. And that's just been insane. It's all through YouTube and TikTok. And it's wild watching it because it's such a different world than we came up with, and we haven't been doing this particularly that long. It's been 15 years, but it's just so different.
Yeah, it's just everything. I mean, everything in every industry changes, but for us, like it's just when you knew one way, and that was like, especially when you talk to other people in the industry and stuff, like, and you see all these people who were unable to adapt to along the way, just go into different things because they just can't adapt into it. It's kind of wild.
What's always interested me about this industry is that no one knows how it works. No one knows how you're supposed to.
There is no way. It's art, man. I mean, at the end of the day, that's where it cut. I understand what you're saying. I totally agree. It's hilarious to me because like you talk to someone who's like a specialist in this one field.
Oh yeah.
And you're like, but what does it mean? And they're like, oh, and they talk around in circles, and you're like, you didn't tell me anything. You did not tell me one thing of what you do.
Those old dogs who know exactly, they know this industry in and out. Like, we know how to blow this up. We know exactly how to play it. It's like, you don't know because no one knows. No, this was a different game yesterday as it's going to be tomorrow.
Well, not only that, art is like a thumbprint. It's unique to each other. We were just talking about how every artist has a different way of writing. Just the very basic idea of what it means to be a musical artist, and everyone has a different and everyone is going to have a different fan base directly, like that core and those overlapping things. It's as unique as a thumbprint or a human being or anything like that. Like those fan bases that you're trying to reach, those things it's going to work for someone this way and it's going to work for someone the other way. Like it doesn't really fucking matter. It's just like how you eventually get to cross those streams.
I know you've done a bunch of stuff in the kind of Web3 space. Have you put much thought into all the AI implementation in music that's creeping in?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, have I used it? No. No, I mean, it's very interesting. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm huge into I try to be. As I get older, I'm slowing down, but I try to be in the forefront of technology a little bit just because I find it so interesting for no other reason, but it's just super interesting to me. And how fast our exponential growth. I mean, when you see those charts it's ridiculous how fast everything is going right now in technology and all the discoveries. And AI, I mean, although it's been around for 15 years, like we don't, everyone like looks at it as like AI is this brand new thing. It's like, actually, like your smartphone, everything, all that is all artificial intelligence, like how it's figuring you out, your algorithms, that's all part of artificial intelligence. And now it's gotten to a point where it's a real thing that it can access information instantaneously everywhere at all times and recreate things. And it's like, oh, this is very human, like, but faster and better.
Like, where it did like it wrote and did like a full Drake song, all that stuff.
Yeah. Oh, dude.
Frank Sinatra singing Wu-Tang.
Oh my God. I heard Frank Sinatra doing the sweat drips down my balls, and I was like, oh my God, this is fucking brilliant. I didn't. I was like, dude, can we just get an album like that? Can somebody just put out an album like that? I want it on vinyl. I want fucking Frank Sinatra singing hip hop on vinyl.
There's a new one where they've got Cartman doing Evanescence.
But
It sounds great.
I'm sure it does. That's what I'm saying. It's like it's fucking good. Like and our own technology in the music industry, as you guys know, when you're doing things remotely, all that's gotten so good. So of course those plugins and those recreations of MIDIs, which are all computer coding, an AI is going to be able to do that instantaneously.
Yeah,
which is mind-boggling.
The only bit I'm worried about, and I don't have a massive concern for it, but is the better it gets at the creation side, because we're playing with a finite amount of notes, and it's only a matter of time until it's just algorithmically come up with all of them already. I think there was a guy recently who did that, and he just basically did the password hack thing. It was like AABBCC, AABC. Did
how many combinations to even create songs with 12 notes?
And he did that, and he came up with they let it run, and they came up with every melody there has ever been and ever could be, and then they recorded them all so that they're copyrighted, and then they put them all on free license, so that suing people for new melodies and stuff now can't be a thing because he's already free licensed it all.
No way. That's fucking
about that a couple days ago. But when it starts coming up with like it, all of a sudden it's as a songwriter, the job starts being like, oh, it's fine. We just had AI do it all. That's when it's like, okay, we're losing the human edge. I think it'll take over for a little bit. And then the same as how music got so perfect for so long. And now like people are really digging kind of the vintage, more loose. There's mistakes again. I think that the human aspect to it's going to get more of a big deal.
I agree. And I think that I mean, look, it's a saying for a reason. Is you can't make a diamond out of pressure. So there's going to be that pressure, that pendulum swing, right? Like, and that's what happens with technology. We're just now. I mean, Web 2's been around with social media and everything that taking over, as we just touched upon, for so long. It doesn't feel like it was pushing so much, but it was, and now the pendulum's swinging back, where people are taking less importance of it again. I mean, especially during the pandemic. I mean, it was the most important thing in the world with social media. And I understand it is still huge. It's still part of how you reach people and stuff like that, but it's not. I'm glad that people are realizing not everybody's opinion is that important. Everyone should be allowed their opinion. That's not what I'm saying. Don't, people at home don't.
Some people's are wrong.
But they're allowed to have them. But it's right or wrong. You're allowed to have your opinions, but you don't argue and get angry over some complete stranger on the other side of the world's fucking views on something. I disagree with that. That's me. You could take it, you could read it, you could do whatever you want with it, but making it your entire life based on somebody else's opinion and like just going into a depression or anger or whatever it is about it just ain't it. That's not life.
No, there's some. They make their entire personality is just disagreeing with one person.
Yeah, God, it's like why? What? You got to find something better to do. Drink a little bit more. Do something.
Seriously, I think what really tipped it and shone the big light on it was when Trump was in office and people whose personality was just disagreeing with him.
Yeah,
even if he did something that realistically they don't disagree with, because it was him. They hated it. It was like okay, are you guys seeing how ridiculous you're being? All you do is this. And then when he left office, now their biggest concern was what are they going to be able to talk about?
Oh yeah, the news just went, what are we going to do? Like that's the old school media. Like the old school media had no idea what the fuck they were going to talk about, which was mind-boggling. I mean, but that's not news anymore. That's the thing, is it's become entertainment. It's everyone's form of entertainment. It's not even well informed on either side. I disagree with everything out there, but I'm not sitting on there all day saying I disagree with you and I disagree with you and I disagree with you. Like I disagree with the majority of the things I see out there on both sides of our political coins.
Most stuff is stupid.
It's so stupid. I'm like, really, guys? This is what? Can we focus on like the bigger shit? Where like, I don't know, can't we all just try and figure out how we could get along together? Like. We're all just here. We don't really know why. We woke up one day with consciousness, and we're just fucking here. That. We're all in the same boat.
We don't know why or what for.
And I get people, there are people who, with their beliefs that think they know why. And that's totally fine. You're right. You're right. Whatever makes you feel better. But for me, I don't know why or what the fuck is going on 99.9% of the time. So
Yeah.
it's like, I'm just going to be kind to everyone that I cross paths with. And, you know, if we disagree on something, it doesn't mean we can't be friends. It doesn't mean we can't do anything. But we're allowed to disagree. There used to be a time, people, before all social media, where people would get together and have conversations and disagree. And then they would still cheers a beer afterward or shake their hands and walk away and be like, I still like that guy. There used to be a time in that.
Good guy. Bit stupid, but good guy.
Totally. I'm sure that's happened many times behind my back, but you know, it's all good.
It's beautiful, ridiculous. Instantly my brain goes to I was like, there's a new T-shirt, kind and confused.
Ooh,
Like we're confused and we're kind.
I like that one. Who's gonna get it out first, you or me? That's,
Tag team it. We steal the dazed and confused font script, and just wait for the cease and desist.
yeah, I like
How much
it.
you can grab
And
before
that's
they
what
figure it
means
out.
that. Yeah, and let's do a collab on it. We'll drop it, see how long it takes, and that's how people will know it's a limited edition. We're doing
it's
this
limited. We're going until we're sued.
That's the way to do business. Oh man, that's fucking funny. But yeah, back to the songwriting and AI stuff. Yeah, I just don't know. It's an interesting thing. You're right. I think it'll be revered and like really cool for a while, and then to your point, like it will come back. I mean, it's the same thing. Like I remember when I was in an assembly in middle school, and it was like the first time someone brought in like one of those really rad keyboards that could do everything. This was like 1996 or something like that, and he was like, and techno was like starting to go crazy, and it was like the keyboards and DJs mixing things together, and this was before they started completely programming everything like they do now, and at the time, the guy was like, well, I still have to program it. I'm still the human element that still has to do that. And I was like, yeah, because he was like talking at the time, some musicians, not as many now, were worried about their jobs being replaced, basically, a lot of studio musicians and stuff. But it's just not the case, because you're never going to get that, for better or worse, I will say, you're never going to get that human element without it. People are still going to crave that because we're still people. As long as there's humans in existence, as long as they are kind enough to keep us around, we'll be okay and employed.
Have you ever pushed that humanize button on one of the recording softwares?
No.
There's like an option within the MIDI that then there's an option for humanize, and it's like
right.
Changes like velocities and like put stuff in and out of time. It doesn't work. No human has ever played it like that. So we're safe right now.
Yeah. They'll figure that out too, though. They might figure that out too, because I just remembered. I think they call it something different. Do you guys use Pro Tools or Logic?
I use Logic. I've tried Pro Tools, but I just didn't connect with it. And then they just sold, which to me is a red flag. It means the first thing they're going to have to do, they sold for a lot of money too. They're going to have to show the investor board a really good turn on profit. So they're just going to start cutting costs. And like that software was already flawed to begin with. So I think it's all going to be in places that they shouldn't cut, and people will stop migrating over. But
I think you're probably right, which bums me out because I'm going to have to learn a new system for everything that I've been doing for the last 20, 25 years.
Luna. Universal Audio. It's the same. It's the old program is from Pro Tools. So it's all the same shortcuts, same layout and everything, but just a way more modern version. And it's all laid like a proper desk, which I love.
Oh, that's fantastic. I'm glad. I just learned that, and I'm excited. I'm going to start, I'm going to try and get ahead of this because I think you're absolutely right. But I brought up the difference of the programming because when you said humanize, I did notice, like, even when I'm editing video or audio in this setting, it's like if I go back and forth with different things, they're all titled different things, but they do the same fucking thing. Yeah. Like, humanize is one thing, and then, like, I don't even know what it's called in Pro Tools, but you get my point, or, like, they call things different in timeline when it's not a timeline and something else. It's fucking, I'm like, it's all one language. Why are we diversifying another language?
You don't need to have proprietary verbiage.
Right. It's like, come on, man. Like,
stop making it harder.
Yeah. I just want to be able to talk to Danny when he's on Logic and I'm on Pro Tools and we both understand each other.
I don't know why you can't send projects back and forth between them. Like,
It's all digital shit.
Yeah. They know, because like in Logic, when you're going into like your key shortcuts and stuff, there's different options for different keyboards from different places. There's a Pro Tools option, so it just imports all of the shortcuts from that. So it's like, why can't you use the same language to just explain what the fuck I've done?
Yeah. It doesn't make any sense. It's follow the money. Actually, that's where it makes sense.
That's it.
Yeah. All right, let's
Now,
get back to your
by
record.
that token, as a businessman, would I do it the exact same way? Absolutely.
Oh yeah, if I was the owner of one of those companies, CEO or on the board,
I want to make it so hard to change to the competitors' software.
Absolutely, yeah. Fucking kudos to them. Kudos to them. After we just went on our rant, yeah, it's probably the right way to go.
Oh yeah.
Back to the record though. Like I said, there's a few standouts this early in my listening of it.
Full disclosure, I've ran into this a bunch while we're doing these. I know almost all of these songs by different names.
Oh, dude, I know. That's so good. Okay, so I'm so glad you brought that up, because I do the same fucking thing when I'm doing weird like interviews or whatever podcasts, and people are bringing up like titles of songs. I'm like, but I will help us both out by bringing it up real quick.
Awesome. I was going to say, I usually have a Dropbox open to just mute myself real quick and play the beginning of one so I know what people are talking about.
No,
Here's how much they changed. In my Dropbox, some of them are wrong because they've changed since then.
Right. Let me find this real quick. Okay, so the first one is going to be the third track on the record, which is Let the Dead Take Me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll describe a little bit, maybe if you still don't remember which one it is, but it's got a little bit of that like gospel, take me down to the swamp vibe.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, to me, it's very kind of, it's got a lot of, I hesitate to use this word with you because you guys have taken it to such a higher level and higher degree, but it's as our albums go, like it's very theatrical and cinematic. Obviously you guys have taken that further than most in such an incredible way.
I appreciate that.
It has kind of that.
It does. It absolutely does to me too. Especially love. So it has that overall vibe that I already spoke of, the gospel, like down to the river, down to the swamp, whatever you want to call it, a little southern to it. And then it also, what stuck out to me specifically for you, Danny, was your vocal melody in, like, I believe it's kind of like the bridgier part, where, and this is something you've done in the past, I've always loved when you do, is going for more of the R&B notes or an R&B melody over what is clearly very rock. And I think that's a really cool splicing. You guys do it very well of splicing those two genres together.
It's mostly because I don't listen to much rock music.
Right.
Like, I love, my favorite artist in the world is Adele.
Awesome.
That isn't news to anyone who's followed me for a minute. It's all I talk about. But I love pop music. I love R&B music. I love soul music. I love the blues, and that's where most stuff comes to me. If I'm not writing an Asking album or on tour with Asking, I'm not singing rock music. So like, most of what I'm doing is really pretentious, obnoxious, like do a bunch of runs and play around with like really more note-wise experimental melodies. And it's been the last few albums I've kind of had the confidence to bring that into Asking. Which, you know, to mixed reviews, which is completely fine and to be expected, and I kind of like it. But there's some people who the more rock and metal purists are like, the weird thing is that a lot of them are like, this just sounds like country now. I'm like, I don't think you guys have ever heard country music.
Because that doesn't sound like country to me either.
I've made a country album. It's nothing like this. And then there's a lot of people who, and I don't think incorrectly so, but I think they think of it in a different way. They're like, this sounds like Fall Out Boy. And they're saying it as an insult. It shouldn't be. But Patrick's like a big jazz guy, a big jazz and pop guy. And I'm like, thanks.
Yeah.
He's so great with melody and like having those delicate details and playful parts in melodies and what I love about singing. Like, I want to be able to have my little runs and be very expressive with it rather than just the power all the time.
Mm-hmm. I
And
think there's a
yeah,
great place for both of it. Isn't there just like a great place for both of it? I mean, like
yeah,
I agree with you. When we're not doing, well, I'll only speak for myself. When I'm not listening to Avenged Sevenfold stuff, I mean, of course I will occasionally listen to, your band or some of my other peers and friends, and especially when they get new music out, I'll give it a listen. Those things. But when I'm just hanging out and I just like want to throw on some music in the background, it's never rock. It's always blues, Motown,
yeah.
soul, funk, reggae is the
Sinatra.
new thing that I've gotten into. Sinatra. I mean, that was old.
This
Listening to the
now.
old big band stuff on my grandfather's vinyls up here in
Yeah,
this room while I'm
exactly.
having a scotchy. A
Yep.
scotchy? Well, I'm having a scotch. That sounded weird.
Scotchy, scotchy, scotch.
Yeah, scotch. But yeah, like that's my shit. That's what I listen to as well.
Yeah, love
I
that.
think it's great to have those influences from different genres and bring them into what you already do, right?
Yeah, this house mostly for the past few years has been either Adele, John Mayer playing, or especially as of late, there's just Etta James radio, and it just shuffles all day long, and that's
Sick.
just what exists.
I love that. It's fantastic.
You can't beat it.
No, dude, it's right. That
There's a
music is
reason they're still untouchable.
exactly. They're timeless. Like you're not. I mean, as fun as we were talking about putting Sinatra on AI to do other stuff, that's just funny, right? But like, you're not really gonna touch Sinatra. You're not gonna really get
Oh,
that on AI. You're not
we
gonna
have
do it.
we have one almost Sinatra, and it's been the same guy for the last 20 years, and he isn't Sinatra, but he's the closest we're gonna get, and so no one else is even trying. We
Yeah,
have Bublé. That's it.
and Bublé is pretty fucking good. I do
He's
love Bublé.
incredible, but even he isn't Sinatra, and
Yeah.
it's so much like no one else has even tried.
So good though. I love it. But my staple is every November, right around Thanksgiving, we start the Christmas music in my house. We're all big
Big
fans of
Christmas
Christmas
guy.
music. Yeah, it's just a joyful nostalgia thing, and I do love the songs. I think there's some great, not all of them, but there's some great fucking Christmas songs out there, holiday songs, and
I
and
don't. I don't.
some of them were done back in those big band days that I really love.
Big band sounds so cool. I don't know if you've ever heard it. I'm gonna send it to you after this. I did a Christmas song during the whole 2020 everything's weird time.
No,
You know Jared Dines,
name sounds familiar. I don't know.
YouTube guitar player.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So I was talking to him, and I was like, "Dude, we should do something just very crazy in left field." This is the point before I ever started screaming again, which is a thing I don't like doing, or particularly like the sound of. But it's the job. It's in the job description, so I got it. But I talked to him. I was like, we should just fully turn this thing over and just freak people out. And we did the Grinch. We did You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch, but we did it like, but it starts
Heavy.
it starts out normal, and then it goes just like full ridiculous.
Okay, I'm gonna have to listen to that and play it for my son
Yeah.
too, because he loves all the Christmas and he likes it when it gets fucking weird. So that'll be a new staple, like because it's that and like Mariah Carey, All I Want for Christmas,
Yeah.
fucking, and Bublé's entire Christmas album, by the way,
Oh, yeah.
is amazing. And then you go back to like the classics, even like Alvin and the Chipmunks, fucking all that fun stuff. I'm into all of it.
I've never been a holidays guy at all, but I've never been a Christmas guy. But every year I do get it does start warm in my soul just as every store I walk into, I start hearing Michael Bublé again,
Yeah.
as opposed to like the same five radio songs that I'm not particularly a fan of.
Right.
And I'm
Yeah,
like, oh, we're good again.
Yeah. Well, it's that, and then just watching the holiday movies too, with all those songs in it too, and like,
This is gonna be another one. I haven't seen most of them.
really, you've seen Home Alone though, right?
I've seen Home Alone. I don't know if I've seen all of them. Are there two or three?
There's only two in my opinion. I think there's
Okay.
like 4 or 5. But
Okay, well, I've seen two. I've seen two.
Okay.
Um, no, I'm a self-proclaimed cinephile, but there are a lot of movies, especially U.S. movies, that I haven't seen that are more childhood-based. I've never seen Sandlot.
Okay.
I've never seen the Goonies. And these are like staples where it's like every
Yeah,
movie.
it's a little disappointing, but I get it.
know.
You didn't grow up here though.
Yeah, my parents didn't love me. We're I had a terrible childhood. That's why I sing.
Oh man.
Apparently, they loved me a little bit too much for me to write like Thriller or something, but just enough for me to they disdained me just enough to write Alone in the Room.
That's a fucked up thing to say, but I like it and I understand.
I'd have liked a couple more beatings for some more platinum records.
I know, right? Is that man?
Play the hand you're dealt.
Yeah, damn it, we missed the boat.
Yeah,
but back to this record real quick. We'll wrap up the record because there's so much more I want to talk to you about too. But like, Psycho's a single out right now that I'm hearing on the radio. Great song. Also one that when I heard it on the radio, it didn't strike me as much, honestly. Like just driving in the car. But then when I was listening back as a whole on the album, it made a lot more sense to me. Is that something that
I haven't heard it on the radio yet? So I've only heard it in this room. So I'll be honest, I haven't even listened to that in the car. I haven't done the car test on most of these songs.
Oh, nice.
Just because it's literally been like, this album was so quick to turn around. I was recording this album like 2 months ago.
Wow.
Yeah, this was a really fast turnaround.
It's because it's already mixed and mastered and everything in that time. That's incredible.
We usually live with an album for close to a year from when we start writing it, but this was really quick. I started singing because I remember when Matt Good flew here to start recording vocals was like last December. It was when we started recording.
Wow. It's
like that turnaround's been, and then we over the like 3 or 4 separate sessions, we got it all together.
Yeah. Well, it sounds great too. I do want to point out that the production of it does sound great. Like I was listening to specifically like the last song I just talked about, "Take Me to the," was it "Take Me"? Yeah. What is it? "Let the Dead Take Me." That one had there's some nuances to the production. A lot of stuff that you guys are kind of throwing in the background, like little things that you hear out of the corner of your ear when you're on the headphones and stuff. And I think
Matt's great at that.
Yeah, it sounds
great. Spatial stuff. Psycho though, it was so. One of the things that always works really well for us is the kind of tongue-in-cheek song, where it's like it's got that kind of cocky stuff, like tiptoeing on cheesy, but just enough so it's like it has that, and definitely not at his level, but it's got that David Lee Roth thing, where it's like it's just a bit too much.
Yeah, it's a little over the top, which makes it cool.
Yeah. So that song was like that's that song all over.
Yeah,
which is because it has a bunch of dark stuff in it, but it never feels like it.
And I think that's what I've got when I listen to it in a vacuum as a single on the radio. I've got more of that, but then when, like I was saying, when I listened to it as a whole album, when it came up, I was like, I think I understand the dark side of this one a little bit more. I understand the serious side of it a little bit more.
I think it all comes together really well when it's in context with itself.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. Yeah. That's part of the art of a whole album versus what we were talking about earlier. However, you do EPs or singles later on.
Yeah, writing a single and writing an album are 2 totally different games.
Right. It's completely different. And then the last couple I want to ask about, because "Kill It With Fire" is like the 30-second track towards the end. That's like just got a lot of punk rock energy in it, and that's kind of what I vibe on it. And I was like, that's. And I didn't want it to end, and then it ended. I was like, God damn it! Like it was, I wanted a little bit more of that punk rock feel for a minute. How did that song? Was that song just like kind of, this is what it is, we're throwing it in, fucking go for it, or what?
Yes, probably.
Okay.
I found out about that song about 2 months ago. I didn't even know it existed. That song was mastered and sent to journalists before I ever heard it. I didn't even know it existed. I'd never heard the name. So that was one Ben did just at his house by himself. And he threw it in at the last minute. And yeah, my emails are so full all the time. So I probably just completely missed it. But I didn't even know it existed. I was in an interview in Graspot, that's Belgium, right? Belgium or Austria, one of them. I was there and we were in an interview and the guy was asking about "Kill It With Fire" and I was like, I know these songs by different names, so that's clearly changed. I don't know which one you're talking about. And he starts talking about the punk one. I'm like, what are you talking about? And I thought I was going crazy for a second, and then afterwards, I was like going through the Dropbox that I had, and it had been updated since I'd last looked at it, and there was this song in there, "Kill It With Fire," and I'd sent the album to a couple of my friends, and they'd responded with "Kill It With Fire" and the metal horns, and I thought this was some cool new turn of phrase I'd never heard before that the kids were using. I didn't think to click on it and be like, is there a new song?
I can so put myself in that position, man. That is so good.
So yeah, I didn't even know that song existed. That's not even me singing. That's all Ben.
That's funny. I mean, it went by so quick. I didn't catch that part, that aspect of it. I could usually tell you guys apart, but yeah, that's wild.
Look,
it's a good.
He's never
go listen to it. Go listen to it.
I'm gonna have to again. I've as of right now, I'll be fully honest with you. I've listened to it one time ever. And it was in a
I've got you beat by one. I've got you beat by one. I've listened to it.
It was through my phone speaper. So I've never listened to it at all. But he's never screamed or yelled or anything before. So most people don't realize at all. But like I did after I talked to him about it, he was then like, I have an entirely new appreciation for everything you've done and everything you've said about not wanting to scream. He's like, I didn't talk for a week.
Yeah. Dude,
he was like
there's got to, especially when you're going all out for however long it is. I mean, even in 30 seconds, like that's it's longer than I do. I do backup streams live. I don't ever do anything on an album. That's different.
Have you ever had lessons or anything in it, or is it just when you figured out?
No, nothing more than just you just kind of figure it out, and then lean on somebody like M Shadows and Matt, and Matt, who just fucking is a consummate professional and takes care of his voice so well, and does all the right fundamentals at all times every time he can. So I might ask him for a couple of notes on something to do, something to help out with it, but very rarely, because it is, for me, it's just a stupid guttural scream that I just figured out one day. I was like, I think I could kind of do that. That's it.
You're lucky. I blew my voice out so many times. I just started getting help about 4 or 5, maybe 6 months ago. I found this awesome kid, David Benitez or Benitez. I don't know how to pronounce it. But he's helped me get it together. But yeah, as far as Matt, before I saw a vocal teacher ever, when I was definitely doing it wrong, he was the only person I'd talked to about it before I got lessons, because I was like, I think Dione gave me his email or something. I was definitely bothering him way too much. I was sending me this is what's going on with me. What do you do? How do I go about this? And he was so helpful. He's always been so sweet. But it was, I've always watched him from touring with you guys and playing festivals and stuff. He's always so on top of it and careful with it. I was like, I don't know anyone else better than him as to my precautions and my general take care of it. I mean, you're fortunate to he's literally in your band to ask.
Yeah.
So it's
I'll be honest, I don't even do that very often, because like I said, what I do is not. There's no what's the word I'm looking for? There's no theory behind it. There's no just kind of do it, and I don't have to do it. Like I said, it's a few keywords. It's not fucking going all out in a song. It's not. I don't have to do what you and other vocalists, and I commend what you guys do. And one more shout out to Shads. There is you're not the only person I've had on this show, or just in passing, other vocalists we talked to that have said the same thing about how and it is true. I've seen it firsthand, how he's very helpful to any of our friends or anybody who's struggling with stuff, and to give his opinion and let them know what works for him, and I think it's a great quality in a man.
Yeah, absolutely.
But okay, so the last song that's really stood out to me was the final song, the title track one. Where do we go from here? It kind of threw me off, being that I was listening to it and I walked away and from the speaker, and I heard it from the other room, and I was like, wait a minute, it's not picking up, but the melody is getting better and better and better. The melody stuck with me right away, and just the simplicity of the recording, I guess, after so much stuff had been going on for the entire record, and then to finalize with that, I thought it was really cool. I really dig the song. I hope that you guys are going to eventize it at some point. Obviously it's the title track on the album, so imagine it'll get some shine at some point in this cycle, right?
Yeah, it's gonna have a bunch. So that song wasn't supposed to be on the album at all. I
Okay.
wanted it, and this with it being a For Them album, it was supposed to be all energy all the time.
Okay.
And then this was the song when I was like, and then I fucked it up and did One for Me. That everyone
Mm-hmm.
started calling me from the record label to management to band members individually without talking to each other on the same day, just being like, this album's missing something. And I know you said you wanted it to be just like hard the whole time, but it's missing the Danny song. Like it's missing that moment where just you do your thing and we all take a step back. And I was actually sat in here with my buddy Corey, who's the other owner of Assassinata, writing that song for my next album. So we
Okay.
were already writing that song, and then they were all calling it, and it was like one of those moments where the universe intervenes a bit. Whereas that song was so perfect contextually to like conversations we'd been having as a band and stuff each of us individually had going on in our personal lives, where it was so right place, right time that we pivoted it to this album. I sent it through to everyone. It was just a piano and vocal song with all the percussion and strings that are still in there. But there wasn't any like it wasn't all the acoustic guitar and
Yeah.
all the other stuff. It had the big build at the end, but that was it. And they were all so they were like that's the album. Like that's the album name.
Wow.
Which was it's always kind of a cool thing for it to be something you put together by yourself at the last minute. For them to be like, that's the name of the album. We don't have to think of one now. And that was the
Yeah.
last two albums.
Dude, just thinking about this conversation, how this comes through is like I'm thinking the times where it's happened in our band too, and like how special. I'm so glad you pointed out like the universe decides for you a lot of those times when something like that happens, and I'm just so happy that you guys have that on this record because I knew at the beginning when you said there was a song that you kind of did for yourself, I was like, well, I know which one he's talking about, like, and we'll get there, but it's a unique song and it's beautiful. The melodies are great, what you're saying, and it's great. It brought me to a question that made I didn't have time to go back and listen to the rest of the lyrics as closely because is there an overlining concept to your lyrics on this? Because if you look at the titles of the tracks, it seems like they kind of all coexist together, but it doesn't feel like there's one theme throughout this album.
No, it definitely wasn't a conscious thing. The concept lyrically was the same as it was sonically, which is what has worked in the past and what are the moments from the last 15 years of albums that have particularly resonated with people or that they've connected to or that people have voiced have meant a lot to them or helped them. And like that's our talking points. Because usually it's just writing songs is therapy for me.
Right. Yeah.
This was the first time for the band that I've done it not that way. So that song obviously is an exception.
I got to say that lyrically it stands out for that reason, in my opinion. Like that, I mean, the other stuff's great too, but like when you hear the universe calling or whatever, when you're writing something that the rest of the guys gravitates towards, and it's not even something you're writing for this project per se.
Yeah.
And it means that much to your bandmates that you have been with for 15 years. That's another good sign of a fucking great song, man.
Yeah. This song actually started on TikTok, and I was just scrolling through them, and I was like, I had a TikTok account, but I never posted on it because at the time it was at this. All we're being told is like it's the Chinese government, and they're gonna read everything from your phone. And somehow me scrolling through it would save me from that versus posting from it. But I was like,
I love the absurdism of that, like the absurdity of that. It's just so
no
funny,
sense at all.
Because everybody, like, I don't understand. Not to get off topic here too much, but I don't understand that mentality that people have these days of like, oh, they're watching me. Big Brother is like, no shit. Did you not think like? And you think you need this device? Like if you throw this away, they can't follow you anymore. Are you out of your mind? Like they're so far beyond us. just don't have anything that interesting to talk about, and you'll be fine. Like they're not picking up on that. They don't want to know about your grandma fucking flashing you when you were 5. Like they don't need to know that shit.
As incredibly cool by every measurable metric as we may be, we're not saying anything they can talk about.
No, not even kind of.
I'm sat on 0 national secrets right now. So
I like that you had to think about it though to make sure.
I had to check.
That one's
it's actually a lie. It's actually a lie. I know some stuff, but we're on camera right now. TikTok will tell you all about it. But no, I found this. It was the first thing I ever posted on TikTok, and there was this girl, and I'll have to find it. I'll probably post it tomorrow when the album comes out. And it was one of those open verse things where she had a chorus and she just left the beginning open, and something about it just clicked with me, and I had that first verse, and a lot of my writing I do improv, like freestyle, because I'm clearly a big hip hopper. And I said, walking around this house, drowning in tequila. I was like, fuck, that's so good. And I almost didn't post it because I was like, if I post this, does she own it?
Yeah.
And I told to my lawyer, I was like, if I decide to use this, am I good? He's like, yeah, she isn't. You're still good. So I did. I eventually pulled it down to make sure. But yeah, it literally was written. That melody was written off this girl's song on TikTok, and I changed all the chords and everything, so she can't come after me. So I'm
gonna put that on TikTok right next.
Try harder, lady.
First rule of the music industry.
It's
a harsh lesson.
Yeah. There have been a couple. I'm not gonna highlight them because I don't want to make anyone's lawyer's job a little too easy. There are definitely some suable points on records that I've done on purpose, not to get sued, but like where it's like I've very clearly taken it. But
I think all artists do that, man.
Yeah, it was pretty extreme.
All right, you have to tell me.
It's only one of them was, even at the time they were like I don't know if we can use that. I was like, listen, if his or her lawyer comes calling, like I'll very happily pay them whatever they need and put them on the writer credit. Like that's not it. I am aware I'm doing it.
Yeah.
But there was another one, and we've gone down the line, and it's not close enough, but it's real close. Moving On, which was like the big kind of arena rock song we started, which we played the first time with you guys. You can go your own way is the chorus.
Yeah,
so
which is Fleetwood Mac.
Accidentally stole Fleetwood Mac. Just in basically most of the chorus melody's the same. And I saw it in a YouTube comment, and when the song came out, I was like, I've never been so torn up in all of my life. And then someone had put it on there. It's like has anyone noticed this dude just ripped off Fleetwood Mac? I was like, oh fuck.
Well, some of that, your influences seep in. I mean, that's part of it too. And also, like John Lennon was like the one who said, "The best artists steal, don't borrow." You know, you make it your own.
Yeah, I have this great song called "Hold My Hand" that's coming out. I stole it from him, so he got sued me. He got sued me anyway.
Well, no, you can use the argument that everything's already been written by AI and copyrighted. So it's done, dude.
I didn't do it. I did it.
Well, man, it's a phenomenal record. I'm really proud of you guys for getting one out there of this caliber for the fans, and that the title track is right now my favorite. I'm sure I'll find different favorites on the record, but right now it's easily my favorite.
I want to because that was for my next album, I'm probably going to put it on there as well. Okay, it's like the original big piano version, which I'm really excited about because it'll be the first time that I've done 2 versions of the song. I feel like Taylor Swift. I'm doing Taylor's version.
Yeah, you're doing Danny's version.
And but yeah, that was like my kind of concept. I might expand on it and change parts, but yeah, that song is really special for me.
Yeah, man. Well, it really
I'm glad it
is.
translates well.
No, it absolutely did. Like I said, it kind of caught my ear from the background, and then I had to dive into it a little bit more. And I'm really like that song. Really like the album, man. Great work on it, man. Everyone, is getting it this week. It just came out on Friday. Just so you know, this will come out on Monday, so everyone will have just gotten it. So that's everyone go check it out if you haven't already.
Yeah, thank you all for listening and being the #1 album in the world. That was so crazy, you guys.
Yeah, dude, that was wild. That was wild how you
As
saw
this
that
airs,
coming.
I'm actually at the Boeing dealership.
Buying my jet.
Buying the plane.
Oh, that's fucking funny, man. But let's get back to like I did allude towards something that I absolutely wanted to bring up with you. And I don't know how I missed it because I'm a huge wrestling fan. You guys did something in Huntington Beach in my own backyard with the great Ultimate Warrior.
We did. Was that in Huntington Beach?
It said it was on the thing. I was going to ask you where it was because it was
so long ago.
Yeah, it says it was posted 11 years ago on Sumerian Records. Is the link that I got from it. So I don't know if that's when it was filmed.
Yeah, that's not. Yeah, it was third album. So that sounds right.
Okay, dude. I could see you couldn't keep a straight face. First of all.
Yeah.
Second of all,
Dude, it was.
I think you did a pretty damn good job given the circumstances because Homeboy was like it was the pilot. It was his first time trying this. I think he ended up doing it a few times after, but you guys were fresh meat. And I'll give a quick perspective on this before I throw it to you. When I started this show, I thought like I've done a million interviews. It'll be like no problem. I'll just put myself on the other side. I sucked. And I still am not great at it, but like it like takes time. Like you don't just put yourself on camera as the host creating a show and expect it. Yeah, I'm just gonna fucking do it. It's like I did, and I made that same mistake. So I understand Warrior's pain on that. The late great, by the way. But man, he went way too over the top on this thing.
He was like he became a character himself a little bit. No, it was the wildest part of it was, and I don't think it was intentional, but it made it work really well. The shock on our faces is because we were together for about an hour before the cameras started rolling, hanging out, talking, getting to know each other, and he was the nicest fucking guy. So when it starts and we're outside, like drinking wine and smoking, it was at that point in time, we were just with him. And he was like, all right, we'll start in like 5-10 minutes. If anyone needs to take like a bathroom break or go smoke or whatever, I was like, oh yeah, cool. So he doesn't show any of that bit. So he just comes out and starts yelling, and we come in and he's like that intense. Someone we just saw 3 minutes ago being so sweet and kind. So the shock was because this person has just lost his fucking mind in front of us. Which was that was the weirdest part of it.
I wouldn't have been able to hold it together. I would not have been able to hold it together.
We didn't get like okay, we're going to start now. It was like, yeah, I'll just be right in here too. What's going on?
Oh, and he calls out your girlfriends at the time too and tells them to fucking beat it.
I guess we've started.
Yeah. Oh my God. And it's like it's like they set you up though, because like they're like, oh yeah, go outside, have a cigarette and drink your wine. And then it makes it look like you're so disrespectful. Because I was like, oh man, I know those guys at that time. We toured together. I could see that. No disrespect, but I could see that being the case. I was
so normal at the beginning.
I was like, oh, I could see that. I mean, yeah, of course they were out there doing that. They didn't fucking work out or do anything like that.
I had cut my. You can't see it on here probably, but I had cut this part of my finger off.
Yeah,
like 2 days before. It had just been stitched on. So when I'm like trying to crawl and shit with the chains, I'm getting gravel in my finger. Like I just a fresh wound. He's like, just keep going. I'm like, no. I don't think you understand. I'm gonna lose a fucking finger. I'm not willing to lose a finger for your fucking pilot.
Just
like, I'm game. I'll play ball, but like, you guys are gonna owe me so much fucking money if I lose a finger.
No shit, dude. So it was so fucking. I thought about all those. So just so people at home know, so that they have a little bit of reference, may have not seen this video. There's a video with the WWE Hall of Famer, Ultimate Warrior. I'm a huge wrestling fan, so I hope you knew a little bit more about him before you got into it, because I have some questions there. But apparently he had this show where it was the Warrior, I and Me, or whatever he called it, and he was meeting with these bands and running them through a boot camp, so to speak, to get them to get their shit together or whatever. I don't. It was basically like a
Yeah, that's a
an
perfect
hour long
summary.
rehab cut into 20 minutes. Like,
Yeah,
it was like,
yeah.
and it's all about lifting and working out and being, and I found it appalling to see the Ultimate Warrior curse so much, to be
I
honest.
know. It was so many childhood. Ironically, in like looking back from now, is all of those people who he was, let's be real, bullying into trying to have some good habits. All of us now work out all the time. I think it worked.
He won. He fucking won.
I think
The
he did
Warrior.
it.
One for the one.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah. It was, I mean, listen, he was pointing out my gut and I still got that, but
Hey, it's okay. There's nothing wrong. Jim Morrison said there's nothing wrong with being a large mammal.
no, listen, all I'm saying is when winter rolls around, we'll see who's laughing.
I love that. I love that. No, but you're right. It is funny because I'm watching it, knowing you guys now and knowing you guys then. I mean, pretty much it was right around the same time I think we met.
Yeah, it was right before we met.
Yeah. So I was looking at you guys and I'm going, oh my God. I mean, you guys were like us in your early 20s, just partying,
I've heard
living
that.
your best life with your friends, touring around, doing a bunch of shit. And, we tried to stay healthy, or at least mostly Matt did, and we work out every once in a while, but it wasn't the same. And then, like, you're right, though. You start to learn that Warrior had a point on some of the stuff he was saying. He was bullying and fucking being really weird about it. But he was right. Like, eventually you're going to need to be able to work out to continue doing what you're doing.
There's also, I mean, I forget if he said it in these words. He definitely said it before or after. Because also the thing is, like, as soon as we finished filming, he was back to just being totally normal.
Yeah, he was probably like, thank you guys so much, right? And
Like, I'm like, I feel like I want to date you. Like, you seem like my type right now. You're so hot and cold. But I'm so confused right now. Sexually.
I'm also not supposed to be, but like when I stare in your eyes, man.
I don't remember what point it was going to be. I took myself on a tangent there.
Oh, you're just talking about how at the end he just went right back to being the cool guy that he was before you're filming.
Yeah, but was I saying right before that note?
Oh man.
I don't remember. My tangent threw me off. I don't know.
Well, we'll cut that out and just say we just went on to a different tangent right there.
Yeah.
And yeah, well, I'll try and bring it back home a little bit here because I'm watching it. It says it's in Huntington Beach. I know you guys. I was definitely bummed that it like wasn't at the same time if it was indeed in Huntington Beach, and so many things were amazing about it. I'm watching it actually this morning when I was working out at my home gym, and I got it blasting. And my wife, Lacey, comes in. She's like, "What the fuck are you watching?" And I was like, yeah, this is the band, Asking Alexandria, like the boys, Dione. Shout out to Dione, by the way, part of your management,
Yes.
and our mutual friend. And I was like, "Yeah,
That's what I was going to say. That's what I was going to say. I knew you were going to
okay.
take me back to it.
I'm taking you back, baby."
It was when you were saying like we were like you, like in the early 20s and stuff.
Right.
He obviously worked with you guys for a long time. And has worked with us.
Not the Warrior, Dione, to be specific.
Dione. And he has told us that on like different calls. Like obviously a big part of this career when you're at kind of where we've been at for the few years is like cool. You hit like different step points. It's not a straight line. Like the step points are you growing between venues and stuff, and the jump between them is really hard. And there's a lot of figuring out and a lot of changes. And we were asking him on his stuff, and he said that same thing. He's like, you guys remind me, and this was a few years ago. He was like, you guys remind me so much of Avenged back in the day, and it was I'm not going to go into it because I don't know how personal it is or was, but it was. I remember a conversation they had that was. It was basically like a switch being flipped where it was like that's when it got pro and that's when it was stadium arenas and stadiums start happening.
Right.
And that was the conversation he was. I mean, he didn't go into your guys' personal stuff, but it was about that conversation and the changes to where all of a sudden that was when we shifted to where it was like we've been treating this a lot like musicians. and not like we're actually trying to do this as a fucking job.
Right, which is two different things. It's not what you set out to do when you become an artist, when you're, a kid and you're picking up a guitar for the first time. You just, you want to create and, eventually want to get attention. Let's be honest. Part of it when you're a kid is you probably wanted a little bit of attention. And
otherwise you'd be a session musician.
Right. So
we all have the ego. That's why we have microphones.
Exactly.
Even if the microphone's not our mouth, we all have microphones.
That's right. That's very true. Yeah. So it's just interesting though, to see those. We saw those similarities in you guys when we were touring with you because we had already been through a part of that as well, being a couple years older. But we were like, yeah, these guys just totally love it because I'm just like, they're partying together, dude. Like let's. And then we ended up partying together because not every night because we were past that hump a little bit, but we knew which bus we could go to if we wanted to party that night.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we still are to some degree. It's a lot different now, so we kind of pick and choose our nights. Mm-hmm. I don't drink too much on the road now. I try and again pick a couple nights, and preferably when I've got a couple days off after. If I don't have a day off after. Again, because I'm a light switch, and it will affect the next day's show.
But honestly, that's part of you had to learn that about yourself too, which is, I mean, that's part of what you're talking about. What we're all talking about is continually trying to do better.
Yeah. So I've gotten really good at. I just drink a buttload of water, and then a couple times a tour. I try and structure it to where it's, say I've got a bunch of people, like Dallas is a big town for me. I used to live in Dallas. So scattered around Texas, I have a lot of friends. So it'll try and be like, cool, we got a show in San Antonio. All my friends from Black Rifle Coffee are there. So I'm going to try and get them to Dallas. I know I'm not going to get my Dallas people to there. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to try and get them to Dallas and some people from Austin up to Dallas. Try and get everyone in one place where I have a day off after. And this year they don't have an excuse because it's my birthday, like 2 days after.
That's going to be
my first time ever having a birthday on tour.
When's you? That's
September
weird.
4. Yeah,
that's 15 years of doing this. Oh wow, I've had so many birthdays on the road. What I'm sorry. What did you say it was again?
4th September.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Which is touring season.
Yeah, I don't know how. I don't know how you've got. I don't know.
I have a day off that day. I have a day off that day too.
It's Labor Day this year. So
yeah, and we've got a day off 30 minutes away from the Assassinato offices, and the guys didn't even know that that's where the offices were. So this was by accident, and I was like, dude, our day off 30 minutes away from my office. We're throwing an event.
Oh my god, September 4th. Damn it! I was like, I can't. I was like, I might come out for that.
if you can get out there, 100% do. So yeah, I try and make it like a couple dates. Like on this tour, I'll do Dallas. I'll do maybe New York. Definitely LA. It's the last show. Vegas is the day before, so I probably won't do Vegas and just save it for LA. They'll probably be my only two on this tour. And yeah, there'll be wild nights, but for the rest of it, I can still hang out until like 11 p.m. Then I get old. But if I'm not drinking, like the turn of the evening I'm like, I should be laying down right now. The other guy's still turning up, but we've taken so much booze off the rider. It's crazy. We're definitely at a different speed, but when we turn it on, we're still there.
And that's the beauty of finding your way on that too. By the way, like that's I feel like we're still in that phase. I think that is the phase that you get to, and then you do that for as long as you can, and then I don't know, when you get older, maybe you just don't even do that anymore. But like, yeah, you pick and choose your battles, and I think it's interesting for people to hear on this show specifically because it's like everyone just has those thoughts of us being, the quote unquote rock stars, which we hate to even. I don't know about you, but I hate to even speak that word into existence. But
I don't think it means anything anymore.
It does. It sounds cheesy as fuck. Let's be honest. That's what bothers me about it. It's corny. It's fucking corny.
You know why? It's because we can still say that Mick Jagger's a rock star with a serious face.
That's a rock star. That's a fucking rock star. Everybody else is a fucking god. It sounds corny. It sounds corny as fuck.
And he's old school as fuck. Dave Grohl ain't a rock star. I respect the fuck out of Dave Grohl, but he ain't a rock star.
No, it's there's levels to this, man.
I'm trying to think who the last
And
like
you have to come from that era, like or
yeah, I'm
something.
trying to think who the last rock star was. Like who's the youngest like full on rock star?
You know,
Who wait no who plays rock music?
you know, of course, that's a very very important thing you just put in there. You know, it's tough for me to not say
I feel like
Guns N'
comedians and
Roses.
rappers are rock stars now.
Oh, absolutely. But like, if we're talking, the youngest, I want to say Guns N' Roses, man. I still want to say Axl and Slash.
Aren't Bon Jovi younger than them? They come out, or did they come out
Yeah, it was around
the same time ish?
but I think Jovi's might be a couple years ahead of him. But it was right there, though, man. That was all early mid '80s. So it's hard to say. I mean, it was all happening at the same time, and who knows? It's hard. That's another thing that's weird because they'd be across the country, which doesn't sound that crazy now, but they'd be across the country making completely different music, not hearing each other while this was happening in the '80s.
I think about that all the time, being on tour, especially like I got it's like grand scheme of things, new girlfriend. So she's like this will be her first taste of me, like, I guess the Europe one we just did, but this is her first time experiencing like touring. So she's like,
okay. So after I get your number directly, because I don't know why we don't have each other's numbers directly. By the way, we'll fix that. I'm gonna follow up with you on that then, because I'm always interested, especially this. I think it'll be different though, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, because it's a different style of touring than like say Girlfriends of the Past or something like that. Like when you're that's harder.
All the girls I'd ever been with before had been with musicians before. She's like
musician, no touring of any kind.
Christian girl, like never been with a musician.
How the fuck did you pull that, by the way, Danny?
Luck. I don't know. I should have bought a lottery ticket that day. But I just did Europe. I was there for a month. I was supposed to be there for 2 weeks longer. James broke his foot. But I think the best part of it was we did 2 weeks in UK with Shinedown, and I brought her with me on that.
Okay.
So she got to see what it was like, and it's especially easy with Shinedown because like they don't party. No.
Love the dudes.
No party now. So she got to see touring at like how we do it now versus the stories that you find on the internet. Right. And she was like, "Oh, this made me so much more comfortable." I was like, "Yeah, we're pretty boring now."
It happens, man. I also feel like I don't know about for you, but you guys traveled a little bit or more through the weirdo time, as you called it. But we were away for like 5, almost 6 years from like actual touring. When I came back, things are definitely different still about like the backstages, everything like that. It's a new era, I guess. And can you speak to that a little bit? You have more experience on that than I do at this point.
Yeah, I think probably people's politics come into it a bit, but I think there's also a lot of people who just play it very safe. Like they don't want to rock the boat with it. I'm not going to speak names onto them, but I know some bands we've toured with who are very now shut down with their backstage, even still, to where it's like they just don't want to appear like they're blasé about it. Personally, we don't give a fuck. I don't like touring. I love playing shows, but I don't like touring. So if I can't hang out with my friends and see my friends around the country that I get to see once or twice a year when I'm on tour, I don't want to fucking go at all.
I totally agree.
Bring everyone backstage. Let's all hang out. That's my only chance to see these people, possibly all year. I might see them one more time. And these are like, I mean, it's probably just nature of the beast with what we do, especially because we moved over here from a different country, is all of my friends don't live here. None of my friends live here.
Right.
All of my friends I only see on tour. Wow. So they're my opportunities to see the people I'm closest to in the world. I see if very rarely. So it's like if I can't see them, like I'm not fucking going on tour because that's my way of seeing my friends.
Yeah. No, that's interesting, man. Obviously it had to be opposite for me to be home for so long as we were, but like, yeah, it's just I have a lot of family and friends here, but I do have friends out there, and and I do like just hanging out. Like that's part of the fun. If it was just the show, which I love so much, it would be harder for me to do it all just for that. It's got to have that, and we're hanging out, we're having fun, we're exploring, we're doing things, you know. And I guess that part of it is still, some of it's still there, but like it just felt different. You know what I mean? And it's not because people are scared of COVID. I don't think it's because people are scared of COVID anymore. It's just like that. I think maybe old habits die hard is the way
I think it's a habit thing and possibly a perception thing. It's like they may not particularly have a fear of it, but they're concerned that people may view that's a negative thing.
And I don't like that. That doesn't sound very rock and roll to worry about. Right?
we did a tour. I don't feel bad about saying this part because it's not necessarily bad. It was the first tour out of it, so it was like 2021, like November, December. No, it wasn't. It was October, November, with a date remember, and they were very tight with it. Like people were not allowed backstage. Sam, our bassist, he tested positive for it. And it was instant backstage lockdown. He was like in a hotel in Vegas for 2 weeks until he was tested negative for a week, then flew back out to tour. What a place to get some fucking paid vacation time. He definitely timed out. I wish I would have thought of it.
Yeah. Hindsight.
I had to get tested every day. Because I was outspoken about like, hey, this shouldn't be fucking mandatory. This is ridiculous. Like, this is a personal choice thing.
You got picked out of the camp just like Warrior picked you out of everybody to fuck with.
I'll be honest. This time I picked myself out. I picked that fight. I wasn't quietly drinking wine outside. I was the drunk guy at the bar.
Warrior was not happy with you doing that, by the way.
I was the drunk guy at the bar talking too much about his opinions. But it was like, you know, all well and good, but no one was allowed backstage. We weren't supposed to leave site at all. And I'm not going to apologize nowadays. Remember, I left site every day. That's when actually I was like, listen, I've hated touring for the last 10 years. To the point where I almost quit entirely. I was like, I need to force myself to find a way to at least like it again. And my way of doing that was forcing myself to get out. Because it's really easy. I think it might be just an ego thing from coming up young, where I was like, I can't leave the venue. People are going to see me. I'm going to get accosted. Reality-wise, actually, when I was saying no gives a fuck.
Well, no, I'm glad you brought that. That is a different thing about touring too. Like it was
because people expect to see you.
Yeah, and you don't, you know, there is that ego-driven thing. Like it took me being home for so long to be able to strip myself of that ego because I was the same way. Like rarely go out. Like if it's on day off, okay, when are we going out? We all going together? Like what's the plan? And like
it's gonna be obvious if we're together.
Yeah, and you think about it, and it's like, why am I even now? Now it's silly. To your point too. Now it's silly to think that way because now the only concern is like, I need to get the fuck out. I can't go from bus to arena to hotel to bus to arena to bus. They all look the fucking same, and it's too Groundhog's Day. It's too depressing at a certain point.
I think this was a theory I came up with when I was way younger, in the middle of being on the receiving end of it. I think that's where the drug and booze comes from. And like, I was thinking about it like back in the day, like like the 60s, 70s, 80s. They're doing that and they can't go online. They can't call home. They can't be like texting their friends stuff. Like that's your life.
And they had it, and they actually had it during an era where they couldn't go outside.
Yeah, I was gonna say they couldn't fucking leave. Yeah. Steven Tyler can't go to the aquarium that day.
No.
He has to buy all of the tickets to the fucking aquarium and shut the place down. Also, they could afford to do that back then.
Yeah, they still had album sales and a lot of other things.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you know, you win some, you lose some. That's
exactly
how it goes.
Yeah, I would give that up to be Steven Tyler right now. But it's like, yeah, I think I always thought like that's where it comes from, and that's why I tried to start forcing myself to leave. Mm-hmm. Do you guys try and get out a bunch when you're on tour? Like
Well, we've only done one leg of 3.5 weeks to this point right now. So
Okay.
not a
I
lot.
think
It's just kind of dipping our toes in still right now.
was Rockville your first one back or one of the first ones back?
It was our second show technically back because we did like a little private show or whatever you call it, like a special event show in Vegas to get our feet wet because, yes, we were going to Florida for the first time to do a big festival, headline a big festival, and we didn't want that to be our very, very first time on stage in front of people. So we're like, let's just dip our toes a little bit here. And then slowly but surely we did a couple more festivals, and then we did Madison Square Garden and the Forum. And then we started our tour, and we spaced it out the whole time because it's been so long. A lot of fucking things that go into it, as you know, after being away for so long. So new crew, new everything. It's totally different to the point of technology and everything else that's changed in the world to everybody else. That's been exponential growth in our industry as well. So it's like figuring all that shit out took us some time. 3.5 weeks in, I feel like I'm starting to understand how touring's supposed to work again. And to that point, come back all the way around the block to your question. Yes, this time around, I made sure, like at the very beginning, I wasn't doing it, and I was like, "Why am I feeling like this?" Like, oh shit, I gotta get outside. So then I made sure, like every day, like walk outside around the arena, walk in the arena, even for fuck's sake, instead of just staying in the dressing room. Go on days off, make sure you go and do something, whatever the fuck it
cabin
is.
fever.
Yeah, totally. And that's all it is. And I think it took me being home to recognize that. I don't think I would have recognized that had we just done our normal shit through it.
Because you get to live with such an extended amount of freedom where you don't have to be doing it.
Yeah. No, you don't have to do anything. At a certain point, it's like, I don't have to do
You get to just be dad and husband and not have to be, you're not in a band.
No. Yeah.
And all of a sudden you have to go back into it and it's like, shit.
Yeah, and it's something that you want, and it's something that you want and need still too. Like even like you said you don't love touring, and I understand the grind of touring, but being on the stage, man, it's like that's something that
it's someone else.
You can't take that away from me. Like I just don't know what I would do as a human being.
Best drug I ever had.
Yeah, just there's nothing like it. Nothing like it.
If anyone out there is struggling with that, like we said earlier, like getting rid of one habit, the best way to do it is just get a new one. If you guys are struggling with narcotic abuse, you should try being in a famous rock band. Give it a go. Give it just once. Try it once.
Just get in front of a crowd, period, man. Just get in front of a crowd.
You'll never go back. Get up in front of an arena full of people and play songs that they know. You'll never.
Yeah, I mean, just find that habit. Come on, guys. It's that easy.
Just pick up that one.
Well, shit, man. Fuck, I don't know where to go from there. Like, it's just conversation's so good. Like,
never have to end.
Let's go into your photography, man. Like,
my favorite thing in the world.
This is something that I don't think I realized about you until, I don't know, maybe the last time we saw each other and I started looking at like social media that we've already talked about a couple times, that you were so into photography, man. Where did that all start from?
I started that in, I want to say about 2010, 2011. I remember I was on Warped Tour, and we've been blessed by having some incredible photographers work for us over the years, who still to this day I look up to in an incredible way artistically. Adam Omakayas in particular, who's with us when we were touring.
And he's been out with Day to Remember to bring that back up into as well. Yep.
He's the one who talked me into getting my first camera because I always loved photos and I had little point and shoots. But I just loved photography, and I was so invested and inquisitive into what he was doing. I think he could tell. He was like, "You already have the bug, you just don't know yet. Like you have such a love for this, you just haven't done it yet, and you just need someone to push you over the edge." So he if I remember rightly, and I might be butchering it because I was drinking a lot. I'm pretty sure we went together to a Best Buy, and he helped me buy my first camera. And then he made me put it all in manual because it's really easy to get a camera, put it in auto, and just be like, "I'm a photographer." He put it all in manual. I was like, "How does it all work?" He's like, "You're going to figure it out." And I was like, "What are you going to figure it out?" So I spent like the first week, every picture was black or white. over or underexposed, and then I started like kind of getting a grip of what all the dials did, and within that first year, I went from being absolutely awful to honestly by the end of that year, it was the mayhem we did right before you, um, which we was with Slipknot and Motorhead was on that,
Wow.
and Slayer was on it,
Wow, you
and
guys did that one? I was like, I vaguely remember that one.
yeah, that was it was the year before we did it together.
Wow. Okay.
And by the time I got to there, so there's about a year between those two. Um, the pictures I took on that tour are still in my portfolio today that I use for like actual clients.
Wow.
And it was all thanks to Adam making me do everything in manual. He's like, you make this picture look good in the camera, and then you figure out what you want to do afterwards. But you get that's the bit you get right. And I fell in love with it. And it honestly is my favorite art form that I do. Uh, Stand-up comedy is my favorite art form in the world, but I don't do it unless we have technical problems, and then I try to do it. It's
Oh
funny, for me,
man.
audience less so. Uh,
I'm a big fan of stand-up comedy as well, man.
yeah, but it's I don't know, it's something I love. I did a lot of live photography, and then um, I kind of fell out of love with it. It just bored me honestly because it's like that's already my day job.
Yeah.
It was like my side hobby is just photographing my day job.
That sounds a little bleak when you put it that way.
I know, but I mean, at the risk of almost definitely sounding very fucking pretentious saying it, it's I was automatically a lot better than most of the other people doing it who've been doing it for years purely because I knew what that side of the stage was like and I knew what pictures I wanted. So
Right.
I got to have a different perspective of what I was doing. But now I do a lot of fashion, a lot of editorial and portraits and stuff, and no one's ever complained about taking pictures of a pretty lady. So that's
Right.
that's mostly what I do now, and then a lot of documentary stuff.
What documentaries have you doing photographs for the documentaries? Are you moving into
No, just
film?
just more like documentary about life in general and the environments that I'm in. And a lot of it is on the documentary side, just personal work, which
Okay.
is either on tour or in studio, like I did with the book Dark Horse. Um, Generally, as I'm out with friends, because I always have a camera with me now, as we're out doing anything, we'll be out. No one even notices I have a camera because everyone's so used to it, and I've gotten like delicate enough where people don't notice I'm even taking the picture. Everyone gets a Dropbox the next day, and it's a bunch of these moments that would have been lost
That's
just
so
in
cool.
memories that fade away, and everyone gets these special ones. I remember there was one of the coolest ones that I'll always remember was I was in Minnesota at a friend's bar, and there was this couple, and they were just loving on each other. And I'd taken a couple pictures of them across the bar, and then they left. I was going back on the next day. I was like, oh, these are really nice. I'm gonna try and find a way to get them to them. And because it's my friend's bar, I was like, maybe they're regulars. So I sent him a picture. I was like, do you know who these people are? And like, no, but I think one of the bartenders knew him. And we spent a minute tracking these people down. It was their first date, and it was their first time hanging out. They kicked it off super well. I got a picture of their first kiss ever. They now live together, and I was
Whoa.
able to get all those pictures to them and then framed in their house. And it's like those moments, like that's why I love doing it. Is giving people those moments, even if it's staged on set, and people have these moments where they feel beautiful and they feel confident. Like that's the part of the photography I like.
That's so cool. I've never thought of that. That's beautiful. I got a couple photographer friends too, but I've never heard it like that. Like that's really beautiful. Like to give somebody that moment, like whatever it is. Like
Yeah,
that's so cool.
we're all gonna age. We're all gonna deteriorate. Unfortunately, the thing that keeps us alive is the thing that rots our bodies, and that's the curse of what we go through. And it's easy to have pictures of it. And I mean, you and I know especially like we have a lot of pictures taken of us, and in
Yeah.
the moment, a lot of them we don't like, but I mean, I can speak for myself. Like looking back, a lot of those pictures I hate at the time. Like I'm really glad they exist now, and I have some of them I don't. But a lot of them, I'm glad I have that like moment in my life where it's like at the time I wished it wasn't being taken. But I mean, I can't imagine in 50 years what it's going to be like being able to look back at my life in that way and share it with children and grandchildren.
Yeah.
Uh, I like being able to be a provider of that to people.
Dude, I mean, I truly do mean that. That sounds beautiful to me. That's life to me. That's so cool because I have a philosophy on life that this is all we get and everything. And it would be cool at the end to look back on it, even if your life does flash before your eyes. It's a different perspective. It would be really nice to have those perspectives along the way. And yeah, of course, there's going to be a lot of pictures in there that I'd be like, skip over that one, you know?
Yeah. But the more pictures there are, the more there aren't going to be to skip over.
I agree. Man, such a good chat with you today, man. I'm going to let you go. We'll plug this book that we're talking about with your photography right now. Dark Horse, do you have one right now?
Dude, I'm going to send you one.
Yes,
I'm going to send you one. And then when you guys in 18 years going to do the next album, I'll come.
Yeah, sounds fantastic. Dark Horse right there, man.
Yeah, that's the only picture of me in the entire book. So people don't have to look at me much beyond that. And then it's all just all these beautiful little moments.
That's so cool because you do have that perspective too. I mean, I'm even just seeing those two pictures right there. You just opened the book too. It definitely has that vibe of like some of the Zeppelin photos when you get to see them in the studio.
My reference shot, lookbook before I went in was Rolling Stones, Zeppelin. There was a little bit of Kravitz just because he's a big photographer and he always has great photographers around him. It was them. It was a lot of Queen. It was basically that entire era. It was
such a cool era of those books. You know, like now we get to see those books coming out, and it's just so cool to see those photos.
Yeah,
100%. So great. And then the plug the tequila before I get to try it. How
good
is it?
Asesinato Tequila. This is the añejo. AsesinadoTequila.com for everything, and then
that's the añejo. Your clear one's the añejo.
Yeah, so it's a Cristalino.
Cristalino. Okay, yeah, I'm familiar with these.
Yep. So we distill that through charcoal. Our Blanco is awesome. Obviously, I'm going to send you a bunch, and then for anyone who wants to find links to anything, it's all on all my social medias, which is just Danny Worsnop.
Danny Worsnop is what he said, everybody.
Links to Asking Alexandria on there too.
Yeah, absolutely. The new album is fucking great. I'm really excited for you guys to get back out and tour. Hopefully our paths will cross out on the road, or if not, we'll just make it happen after we're both on our breaks and stuff, and we'll be in touch and tell Deone I said what's up. When you get to, are you going in Tennessee anywhere close to Deone?
Yeah, he's in Franklin, so he's right outside Nashville.
Yeah.
The new house I'm looking at is about 30 minutes away from him.
Oh, sick. I heard it's beautiful out there. I still haven't seen his house, so I got to get out there.
Amazing. I'm assuming his wife did it all, but she did such a good job.
Oh, of course she did.
I don't see him having that design eye.
No, not a chance in hell.
I saw it before he moved in because he had this crazy barn that was like leaning on the property. I don't know how it was still up, but he had me come out and shoot it, and they've got it framed all around the house. He's turned that into an awesome man cave now. But I saw the house when they first moved in. I was like, you brought this shit home. And then I went into it like a year later. It's incredible. She worked magic. No,
she does every time. Even the house in Huntington they had, it was awesome. But yeah, man, say hi to everybody. The rest of the boys as well. Please give them my praises on the new record and stuff. I think that Wi-Fi is hitting already. Wi-Fi, it's definitely hitting already because it's called a hi-fi and I just called it a Wi-Fi. But everyone go check out Where Do We Go From Here? Great new record from Asking Alexandria. So much fun having you on the show here, Danny. And I'll get your number here in a second. We'll stay in touch, okay?
Absolutely. Love and appreciate it.
Cheers, brother.